Well, thanks, Allie, for doing this. It's good to do it in person this time.
I know. It's weird that we're actually in the same room and not on the other side of a computer screen.
Right.
This is very foreign.
It is foreign, and it's been the last few years of this, and did you start your podcast during the pandemic?
Yeah, right after the first big shutdown.
Okay.
It was just kind of a way to stay connected.
Right.
It really wasn't meant to go anywhere. I didn't think it was going to, and so
Right.
yeah, it was all. No, I've never done an episode in person.
Oh, do you want
that
to?
crazy?
It is crazy.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
This is good. I like
This
this.
is nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we just got finished recording a kind of a short little podcast for your brand, and
Yeah.
the whole book. We should go there first because I think the book's pretty cool. But the whole book was done virtually, so you're featured in this book that was put together kind of long distance.
Yeah. It was a really interesting experience. I mean, so, I'm part of a book called Women Driving Change with the Universal Women's Network. And basically it's 100 women leading change in different ways in the world.
Yeah.
And their stories are kind of highlighted in this book. And so when the writer of the book, Monica Kreshner, just decided that she was going to put this book together, COVID wasn't really a thing, right? And photo shoots would have been easy to do.
Yeah.
And obviously all of these kind of things got in the way. And so she figured out a way to do virtual photo shoots. So all of the photos in the entire book are shot through iPhones and Galaxies or whatever, but in people's homes all through the internet. And I wasn't sure. I remember
You had your doubts. I don't
know how this is going to turn out. And it's amazing. It's crazy how far technology's come and how innovative and creative just even us as human beings have gotten in all of this. We've really had to learn how to flex, our creativity muscles and just get out there in the world. And that's such a cool example of how that's happened. So,
okay. Cause you were saying you put the phone on a tripod and the photographer logged into your phone.
Literally. Yeah. So there's an app and then she was able to take the photos in high res.
Okay.
And download them. It took an hour after because there was so much data going through. So I don't know if that screwed my bill, but I didn't see anything. But yeah, it all went through a photography app, and she just downloaded everything and then kind of just sent some proofs back, and away we went. And it was awesome.
Yeah. When Monica approached you to do the book, had you already broken off on your own on this kind of new journey in your career? What's the timeline there?
Yeah. So I'd already started with the Inspired Leader. And so how I met Monica was because I was nominated as a Woman of Inspiration for her awards. And so it's very interesting because this book is separate from the Woman of Inspiration Awards.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people think it's
right.
I
the thought it was. Thing. Yeah.
So I don't even know if I've won an award yet, which is crazy. So I just got notification that I've made the finalists. So I think they had hundreds of applications and they took it down to about a quarter.
Okay.
And so now we're just kind of waiting for the announcing awards on November 13th. So that's another really cool thing that might be maybe coming my way.
Right.
Or I'll be having a sad pity party.
Right. You were saying either way, you're going to be drinking a bunch of wine.
Either way, I'm drinking wine.
See, it's a win-win, really.
It's just an opportunity to celebrate.
Right. That's right. Celebrate whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do some karaoke. I hear.
And do some karaoke. Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Oof. So I guess Inspired Leader kind of came about in the last how many years?
So I would say it's been formulating in my mind for probably about the last 5 years inside of Original Joe's. And I've been kind of ruminating on this idea of eventually sharing, what I do as a leader inside of that organization with the world. It's been quite the journey. A lot of mentorship, a lot of taking young leaders and helping them find their career, find their path, and grow into meaningful leaders and have careers that they're proud of and where they can create a life for themselves. And so I've been doing this for 10 years just inside of an organization.
Right.
And so the thought that I could potentially take it outside of it was scary.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so it sat back here for a long time.
Okay. Which is typical, right? With entrepreneurship is
for sure.
To take the leap is to truly take the leap.
Yeah.
To believe that you can do it.
Yes, exactly. And so you and I have kind of had this conversation, but like we go through like, we go through these phases as an entrepreneur, and we go through these phases as a leader where we have to like at some point let go of the shore and let go of what we know.
Totally.
And figure out how like we're gonna venture to new land, right? And so like I'm kind of in that phase right now, and it's fun and it's exciting and there's lots going on, but there's lots of challenges with it too, as with any entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah.
But it's like overall, I've been having a really good time with it, and it's just been, every day is an adventure. Like I feel like I wake up every day and I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen today.
It's kind of a crazy way to live, but I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
it's a fun way to live, I guess. It'd be different, I guess, if we had more people depending on us, or if we had whatever. Higher overhead, bills to pay, all that sort of stuff. But I guess I'm curious, like, you started at Original Joe's how many years ago?
16 and a half years ago now.
And the leadership thing, that's a long time. The leadership thing was just part of your duties, or it became something that you pursued in your role?
Yeah, so this is an interesting story because I became really passionate about leadership. So when I was younger in the industry, I learned a lot of things I didn't want to do.
Right.
Right. And had a lot of leaders around me that, maybe just a little bit more like old school type of mentality. And I just felt like, especially for the industry I was in, that there could be a shift, and there could be a shift in awareness of the way that we handled people and the way that we connected with each other, that people didn't have to just be numbers. Right. And like, there could be so much more to business than that. And, yes, I got really interested to see if it was possible, if other people believed that. So really, I just started off by learning, and I was reading on my own, and then I just got like super inspired. And so I came back to the organization, like, as a leader, and said to my partners, I was like, I think we need to craft like a leadership model that exists within our organization that teaches this principle of people, and like this people first, and we're kind of like all in this together, and like it's not about an owner and somebody takes all the pay home, and we very much try to share as much as we can with people in our organization. We do partnership deals, like we do crazy things that a lot of restaurants don't do. And that's all in the spirit of believing in the people that work with us. And for me, it's been so successful. It's been so incredibly successful and fulfilling. And I've just like had the most incredible career, which is crazy that I'm walking away from it in some regards.
Well,
but I always say you should walk away on a high note,
True.
not on a low note. But I've seen the success, and I've seen so many people reap the rewards and the benefit of that type of leadership that it's just, I feel called to share it with other leaders, to share it with other organizations, because your life can be so much more beautiful. Like your experience of work is a direct reflection of how your experience at home is going to be as well. If you go to work every day and it's terrible and you hate it, you're not going to be happy when you come home, right? And there are ways to lead and live and run organizations that doesn't have to be the story for you. And I mean, I've spent many years unlocking that key and want to share it now. So
we went over this. It's unlocking the door.
Oh yes,
Sorry. I'm sorry to do that to you after this beautiful statement that you made, and then, no, you fucked up.
This is what I do, though. I'm a little, like, verbally.
A little, like, obsessive, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
That's okay. Thank you for correcting me.
Well, my pleasure. If nothing else.
If there's anything you can do.
Yeah, exactly, right. So what is it that people maybe get wrong about leadership, or what is it that you do at Original Joe's that's leadership? Like, it sounds like it's people first. It's, a one-on-one solution with each person that you lead, or what does that look like?
Well, I would say we're a family. Like we're super integrated. And so I'll back you up. I don't want to say that other people are wrong. So if that's the way they want to lead, and that's their focus and that's what they believe, then that's cool, right? Like it's just not my my thing, and that's okay. I'm okay with standing in that, and they need to be okay with standing in that. For me, it's like a full integration thing though, right? Like I want to be, like I said, I want to be able to go home and be happy, right?
Yeah.
And I want to feel that, and I want to be able to walk into any of our restaurants and feel that connection. And so that's really important to me. So like, as far as how that develops, I mean, yes, there's a lot of like one-on-one mentorship, but there is a ton of collaboration in our organization. So we spend a lot of time sharing, collaborating, getting the opinions of as many people as we can before we make decisions so that, you know, I mean, it's not a complete, you know, by consensus. Obviously, we have to make decisions as leaders, but we want to make sure that people's voices are heard. And when people feel heard, they feel respected, they feel safe, they feel comfortable to come to us with issues. And if we can have teams and organizations that are built on that, can you just imagine what's possible?
Well, yeah.
Right?
Exactly right. Like, where people feel like they're building up into something, you know, bigger than them, I guess. And something that, I guess the balance I'm unfamiliar with. Like, I don't work as an employee, so it's everything I do is for me in a sense. But how is there a way that you make people that are employed, they're on salary, they're on hourly, you're still building, you're still getting some kickbacks that are bigger than that? Like, is that part of it? Like, we all come under, we're all a family. Yeah. You know.
And I think you're totally like keying on that, but like I'm sure you get this through what you do is like, you know, you're helping me build the inspired leader right now, right? True. So like we're kind of working together on that. You're going to feel a bit of a sense of contribution to that, right? As it grows and things happen, and you're going to get excited about that too because you're a part of that. And so I think like there's this piece of purpose and meaning that can really exist when we connect and align. You have to align, but your values and what you're looking for in life. And so the people that we bring in, I mean, we can get really technical, but the people that we bring into our organization, we spend a lot of time thinking and sussing out what their values are and what kind of people they are and thinking about whether or not that connects with who we are, right? Because if we hire somebody that's completely disconnected, we're going to have problems. Like, and that's okay. And I'm not saying that we have to have like the same people. No. But just aligned, like you know, like we're all kind of like moving towards the same place. They believe in other people, they want to take care of people, they want to be a part of something bigger. They like, you know, for us a big thing is taking care of community. They like that kind of stuff. If somebody's like, oh no, like I don't
got time for that,
probably you probably fit better somewhere else, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But finding this alignment, I think whatever your values are is so incredibly important as you go out and create a career for yourself to create that like integration and happiness.
So it really starts with picking the right people to be on the team in the first place then.
Yes. And the team should pick us too.
Right.
Like, I think they have every right to do that too. Right. Like when I'm in an interview with somebody, I'm like, you're interviewing me just as much as I'm interviewing you. Right. And I want you to be really clear about that. Like this has to be, if this is going to work, like we're going to spend a lot of time together.
Right. We better think, you know, similarly at least, or be able to at least see. Yeah. So that's interesting. Hey, it's like you seek to build a team around like a set of values then?
Yeah. So it's not the same, it's values. So we can challenge each other when we're out of alignment with those values. We can ask each other questions that bring us back to what our guideposts are. And so it's not that we hire people that don't speak up or aren't afraid to give us their opinion. Yeah. They do it in a way that's caring towards the greater goal, if that makes sense. Like they understand where we're all going together, and we understand, and we would question them on that too, right? So
yeah, I was thinking about that earlier this summer when I do like people who listen might know that I do like a monthly episode where it's just me rambling about shit. Yeah. And I thought like, it's hard because to assume that, and I don't know where we sit religiously, you and I, well, I know where I sit, but to say, do these values come down from on high, from like, we just assume that there's like this religious, metaphysical set of values, or like, do we just as people, like, do you at Joe's just set them and say, this is what it is, and you can come under them, or you can choose not to. You know what I mean?
That's very interesting. Well, I mean, you set organizational values, yes.
For sure.
But I guess I'll just speak personally to myself, but I feel like throughout my life, my values have evolved. So as I've grown and I've matured and learned or expanded the lens through which I see the world, my values have evolved. So,
okay, that's cool.
You know, something that's a big value for me right now is courage. And I think that that's super important in my life, because if I'm not courageous in what I'm doing, I'm probably not going to achieve the goals that I've set out to achieve right now, right? But there might come a point where I'm like, you know what, that can maybe sit a little on the back burner, and maybe something else comes a little more like to the front for me.
Interesting.
So I think like, you know, these things are always evolving. And so like if you have an organization that has values and really believes in them and they're strong values, they don't have to be the same. They just have to like be able to, like I keep saying, just kind of to come along with them, to align with them.
Right.
But in such a way that creates an environment where we can challenge the status quo.
For sure.
So I think there's a really careful line.
Yeah, no, I like that. And it's almost like the value itself can evolve. Like you hold it, but also it's like courage now might mean something different to you depending on the situation, or 10 years down the road when there's different things at stake, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a fine line like you walk with values and alignment, because some people think that's like being just like you or like right. Or you know what I mean, being like, oh, okay, Patrick, yes, I know courage is so important to you, so I'm gonna come with you on that. But values is like it's like respecting each other, right? Understanding where each other stands and learning to work together on that. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing when that starts happening, and that's where I think the magic of leadership happens. Because then we can get creative, we can get innovative, we can start to like really challenge each other in ways that are safe, right?
Sure.
And it's as soon as we don't feel safe, we close down and we won't share who we are or our ideas or like, right? So there's so many aspects to all of this, but understanding people, understanding values, and understanding how to align and come together is so pivotal. It's the key to unlocking the door. Sure.
I'll give it to you.
I'm never going to get it.
Well, no, you got it. You got it there. Values are the key to unlocking the door of leadership, right? So what then inspired Leader? Why did you choose that as a brand? Inspired, why that?
Well, I'm often inspired. And so this is an interesting thing. I actually just wondered this right as we were starting the podcast. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to get emotional. So I get a little bit emotional about leadership.
Okay.
And I'm often inspired by either something maybe I did or my husband did or other people have done. And I find that I have this lens that I see things in the world that like moves me a lot when it comes to the way people show up or what they're bringing to the world or how they're challenging things in their world. And so inspired is a big word for me. Okay. I love it. Yeah. I think it touches my heart. And so I wanted to have that word in the company because I think if we can be inspired as leaders, we're challenged to continue to do more, to grow more, to be more, to show up differently. Uninspired is stagnant.
Right. Yeah. Right? There's nothing driving it.
No. So, so it was an important word for me that I felt like if that was part of the core of who I was and how I like to show up, it would be really good to be part of the core of the company. So
right on. So what inspires you then? Oh. Well, what inspires you, let's say right now or these days?
Yeah. Okay.
Help me out here.
Big question. I would say, what have I been inspired by lately? Well, I've been very inspired by this Women Driving Change book. I mean, like, this has been an incredible experience. So, there's 100 women in this book who have taken the leap to share their stories. And some of them never shared their stories, right? Like openly and publicly like this. And even for me, like some of the things I wrote in that book, I have not written like that ever.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just going through and reading it and just seeing that there are other women out there that are willing to share with the world what their journey has been, what they've been through, I think actually inspires a movement, which is really cool. But I'm often inspired by just the leaders around me and how they show up every day. Like through COVID.
Yeah. Oh man.
Every day is like a pivot or, a change or like we feel like we get something together and then something changes with regulations or whatever. And I watch these leaders in Original Joe's and the organization every day show up and be like, okay,
right,
all right, let's figure it out. Let's go do it. Like, and I often say to my business partner, I'm like, man, like these guys this is incredible how inspired they are to just keep moving through what I would call this muck, this like never ending swamp, right? For businesses. And they're doing it in such a beautiful, inspiring way. They're keeping their teams involved. They're keeping them happy. Like, to me, that's like the core of a beautiful leadership experience. So that's very inspiring to me right now too.
Okay. So it's like I've been trying to narrow this down. Like, what is it about people that we just keep going in a lot of, like, most people that I don't know anyone that ever has fully given up and just whatever. Well, I don't even know what that would look like, really. Like, there's always some party, some fire that keeps burning. And it's crazy to me that there's people that are like employed at a company that work that hard for something else. But why do you think, like, what is that in us that keeps going? It seems to inspire you.
I think the word for it is intrinsic motivation. So it's like a motivation that comes from inside of you. And it goes back to where I started. It goes back to alignment of values, to feeling like you're connected to something together. Like, when we feel... So think about this in the times in your life where you have felt like you're standing out on an island on your own. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, you're kind of, the purpose is gone, the why, you know.
Yeah. And so when you think about, okay, maybe I'm standing on an island, but I'm standing on an island with these like 20, 30 people who like all have my back. Well, I get pretty fired up to go do that every day. right? You know? And so I think there's like, when you can find your like tribe or your community or your people, you're motivated, whether you're working for somebody or not, whether you're going out and doing your own thing or you're working for a large organization. I even think people, you know, we get this like government employees that can be really tough, right?
Sure.
For people,
I see.
Like resigned to because you're getting this awesome, you know, package at the end and you're like just going to kind of ride it. But I've also met people working for the government who are super fired up about what they're doing. And it's because they've created that community. They've found that alignment in what they're doing and they love it, right? And so a lot of it is like, well, what are we going to do with our lives, right? At some point, we have to make a personal decision as to how we're going to show up. And, you know.
You do. And you make it every day, right?
You do.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's the cool thing because every day you can choose again.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you had a crappy day today.
Yep.
Well, let's see what happens tomorrow.
Right.
Like.
Right.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot in that, however long that was, 30 seconds. We're like, because I'm so down on the tribalism thing that kind of rules our world. Like, you're anti-vax, pro-vax, you're black, you're white, you're left, you're right. That divides us and causes conflict. But maybe the positive side of tribalism is it's like, okay, I'm choosing who's in the group and we are all aligned under these values and we're going to try and do some good for the world or for the community at large, maybe.
Yeah. That was what it was meant to be, Patrick. Not for like a negative means or for like to make the world a crappier place.
Right.
That wasn't why it was created, but a lot of people have done that, right?
Well,
and
for sure.
it is easy to get down on that. But I tend to think about that like, and you're talking about that, you know, in still a little bit of a separation way, but I tend to think when we're working together to make the world a better place, we're not separating.
Yeah.
We're actually bringing people in and we're saying, hey, like, we can do this. We can change things. We can lead in different ways that create like this really incredible experience of life for all of us. And that's welcoming. That's not closing a door and saying, if you don't believe this, you can't come in this door.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's still, it's maybe I'm splitting hairs or whatever, but it's like, yeah, like we're all here in this tribe doing this thing, but that doesn't mean you can't join us or you can't work with us. Like the hard in and out maybe is the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah.
I think that is. And like segregation. And it's like, if you don't believe this, you can't be a part of this.
Right.
If somebody says that to you, I would question that. Right. Yeah. And so I said this over and over, but it's like, for us, it's like alignment. You don't have to believe exactly what we believe.
Sure. Yeah.
But do you believe enough to come with us on that adventure?
Right. Do you believe enough? Could you at least see it our way, or could you at least hold in your mind two different beliefs?
Or can we hold yours?
Right.
Right. And can we come with you on that adventure? Yeah. Cool. Let's go do it. Right. Like that door is never fully closed for us. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready to walk away from that career. And of course there's all that, you know, dread and fear, but then there's also the ultimate or the unending potential of going somewhere new? What does it look like to you to be fully in the inspired leader and away from your current, where you're kind of balancing it all, right? And you want to go full on with the leadership.
So I'm still balancing. So I'm currently training out my role in Original Joe's. So I've hired somebody to replace me. She's amazing. And so she's going to do really well. But I mean, obviously that's still going to take some time. I'm going to need to mentor her. Running an organization isn't an easy gig to take over.
Right. How many stores?
We have 12.
12 that you oversee.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big job, right? There's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. But I think ultimately, when I move out, I mean, I'm still going to be partnered in Original Joe's. I'm just not going to actually work in it.
Right, okay.
But I see the Inspired Leader as a consulting firm where I work with other leaders and other organizations and help them to see this, all these things that I've been talking about, this idea of a people-centered, people-first type of leader who can get people in their organization believing in this like bigger vision and everybody moving towards, your ultimate goal. I do a lot of coaching, so I'm already doing that. I do a lot of executive and leadership coaching with people. I help leaders even just in their day-to-day issues and help them move through their weeks. And that's like super exciting because that's where like I feel like the real magic happens when you kind of help people get into the minutia of how they're showing up every day. So that's been really exciting. So I've already been kind of stepping into that. And I also think I'll probably end up doing a lot of public speaking because through all of the years with Original Joe's, I just have so many incredible stories to tell.
Right. Yeah.
Right. From all those years and the moments and creating that culture and that leadership vision and just bringing that to life. Some of the most incredible things in my life have happened through that experience. And I think it should be shared with the world. So.
Right. You should write a book.
I will.
Good.
I mean, I say that. I mean, I just wrote 5 pages in that book, and that was like...
That was enough?
I was like, I can't believe how hard that was. Who writes a book?
Right.
But, I mean...
Well, I don't know who writes a book. I've thought about it, but yeah, again...
It's a lot. I mean, I think somebody would have to actually like quit their job for like 6 months to like actually write a book. Right.
Because you think maybe you've got the material in there, but to get it out and organize it and to let it and then edit and it'd be like making a movie, I guess. Yeah.
It's crazy. My friend Jeremy Amiette just wrote a book. I'm going to get his title wrong, but it's about resilience.
Okay.
And I read it and I was like, this is so good. I was like, how did you get your thoughts out like this? And so I was like really proud of him, but I was like, but it sounds like it was at least a couple-year process for him too, right? Wow. So yeah, it's just, I think if you decide in your heart you want to write a book, you have to commit to it and know that that's going to be it's like a marriage.
Yeah, it is a marriage.
At least a mini marriage.
It is. Yeah, a quick one. Yeah. For in marriage terms, but so what is it then when who's kind of your, I guess the short way is who's your ideal client, but maybe who are the people that you would love to serve? Like who's the sort of person that you're looking to sort of basically provide your services to and help them become a better leader?
Yeah. Well, I would say anybody who has a team for sure. Like if you work with a team of people, I can help you see around corners that will help you navigate any kind of situations you face with your team. That will help you guys come together and grow and work closer together and ultimately be more successful. The thing that really happened with that for us is that the level of success it was like exponential. It was like getting a snowball rolling, and it just kept growing once we figured out how to connect with people and be aligned in what we were doing. So I'd say anybody with a team, small to medium businesses is probably going to be my sweet spot.
Okay.
And I love working with leaders who are passionate about what they do. So like they already have a good career. They like it. They're happy, but they know it could be better. That's what I always say. You know it could be better. And that was where I was at when I started on this journey with Original Joe's. And I was like, I like it, but I know it could be better. And then when I figured it out, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Right. And so it does exist. And it felt a little ethereal to me at first. But once I figured it out, I was like, oh, wow, this is like, you can have it all. You can have it all in your career, and you can be successful, and you can have an awesome home life, and you can integrate all of these things. And it just takes a little work, a little understanding, and a little bit of intention as to how we show up as leaders.
Interesting.
And, yeah, I think it's possible for anybody.
Possible for anybody. Hear that, folks? Anybody can do it. They just need Allie to whip them into shape, I guess. So that's interesting. You use the word like integrate and the word alignment. Is that, to me, I think that's the step that I made during the pandemic, was aligning myself with what I needed to do. And the question of like, what would I do and why should I do it and when will I do it, there was never a question, because like, this is what I want. This is what it's going to take to get there. And it became easier to live life when I looked at it in a straight, that doesn't make much sense to anybody outside of my brain. But is it alignment, integration, simplifying, maybe taking a path of least resistance, being yourself? Am I getting somewhere with this?
It's huge. Yeah. I mean, for me, like anybody who works with me, you're going to know who I am. I'm not going to hide who I am for you. I'm not going to, and some people want that. They want a company to show up and be like, and not that I wouldn't be professional, but like, you're going to get me, you're going to get the heart of me. I'm going to share my stories and my experiences with you. I'm going to share my failures with you. I'm going to tell you about the things that really sucked. So hopefully I can help you navigate those if those come up for you as well. Because I mean, like, I'm sitting here saying it's been really successful, but it hasn't been without its we were talking major road bumps sometimes, right? And that's the reality of life. And it's all about like how we navigate those things and how we choose to see them, right? And how we choose to like respond when they show up. So
I guess to be more direct on that question, it was like, what do you offer these leaders? Like, how deep into it do you go? Like, you tell them like you need to get your sleep and diet in order, or do we go, or was it like a level up from that?
Yeah, no, I would go pretty intense with you for sure. So I actually think if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. Right. So there's a very 100%. Entry level layer there that I'm gonna like dive deep into, like how you're taking care of yourself, how you're showing up to work, what are you doing to prepare for work each day? Because if we don't even have those like kind of basic things down, like our routines and our self-care routines, we can't really lead. No. I mean, a lot of people think we can, and you'll get by for a bit, but these are the CEOs who get sick and, like have a heart attack or have all this stress, and it doesn't have to be that way, I guess is what I keep saying. And so, so I really start with, kind of like who you are, how you're taking care of yourself. And then we start to work into like, how are you leading? How are you talking to your people? What kind of ways are you connecting? How do you hire? What are your policies in your company that take care of people? How do you? And so we just kind of like dive into all of these things together and really start to explore everything, but with this people forward, people first kind of mentality in mind. And then measure the KPIs, right? Like start with, okay, where are you at? Why did you come to me? What are the struggles? And in 6 months' time, let's measure. Let's like let's have some interviews with some of your team. Let's look at some of your P&Ls. Let's see what's changed for you, because I mean, the results have been there for me all these years. So
that's interesting. Yeah. That's really interesting that you have metrics that you use to, and that's one thing. I can't apply it to the same thing as you, but for me, like I track sleep, food, workouts, whatever, how much time am I spending doing this or that. And to be able to see yourself on a timeline, then you can really, is the progress real or am I just fooling myself?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because sometimes we're doing things and we think they're really good for us, but they're
like right now, this is going well, right? No, I think it is. Going well. Right.
But no, that's so true, right? And even like an example, a few years ago, I was running and I wanted to run half marathons. And so I started kind of like on this journey. I got so fit, like as the fittest I'd been since like my early 20s. And I was feeling so good, when I looked at myself, but I couldn't walk down the stairs. Like I was so tight and sore. It was actually my foot. And so I ended up with 2 heel spurs in my left foot that have never fully healed. I had to stop running. And so I ran myself to the point of like breaking my body down.
Right.
And that was a really interesting lesson for me.
Yeah.
And I really,
No
I
kidding.
related it to my leadership. And I thought, oh my gosh, like there have been lots of times that I've done this, or I've pushed so hard at some things that, to the breaking point. Right. And so there are ways to look at this and think about it, you know, in relation to everything that happens in your life. But that was a big one for me and a big realization that
A reality check, huh?
we think we're superheroes, but why do we have to be?
No, that's the whole thing about being human, is that you're fallible and not invincible and interesting. So you look great, but you had actually done some damage to your body. That's a great
like big time
metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big time damage, and like still haven't healed from it.
Huh.
And so I haven't ran since then, but I've since figured out, you know, now I cross train. I have a personal trainer, and I feel amazing again.
Yeah.
But that was a whole journey, and again, like a speed bump, right? And you decide how you're going to navigate that in your own life.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, exactly right. I had a similar reality check that I'm not going to tell the story, but sometimes when they happen, it's like,
yeah,
man, I was thinking that for so long. What it was some friends asked me to play some music at their baby shower, and I thought, well, I got a drum kit. I'll bring the drum kit. I got there. I'm like, what would make me think that I was going to set up a drum kit in this fucking yard where we're having a baby shower? And then it was like, oh shit, I haven't practiced my songs on guitar, and now I'm dying up here.
Oh.
So I got way too drunk. Stayed up till 7 a.m, and it was terrible. It was a lot of fun, but it was
this reality. Is the baby shower. I heard about this baby shower.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you did. You told me you were really hungover, and I was like,
oh, right.
That was an interesting baby shower.
Right.
So now I know why.
Right. I was having issues. But I guess if I could tie it back, it's like I thought that I would be this one thing and I would show up this way. And even when I was so secure in that, and then it shattered in an instant. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, like, that's part of our human condition. We can get really like caught up in like things have to be a certain way, or we're going to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I think to lead from your heart, you have to be really open to the experiences the world is going to throw at you and how you're going to respond to them. Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? Or, I mean, that's part of it. Is like an openness to the universe and seeing yourself as, I've rambled about this earlier, but it's like the energy of the universe, whatever it is, flows through me, and I'm actually part of the whole thing, rather than being like something that thinks I'm going to stop it. Like I can direct it maybe, but this is pretty out there. But I think that's ultimately it, right? Like the leader is just put in the position to kind of do this, in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You're just a conduit.
Right.
Like as a leader, like I don't, as soon as I start to think I'm in control, I'm in the wrong headspace. I'm not in control. Like I'm here to like help everybody else be in control of where they want to go, right? I'm here to help guide them, but like I don't want to be in control of it all. The leaders who want to be in control of it all, that's a different kind of leading in my mind, right?
Yeah.
This is about being open to everybody coming together. I mean, we're obviously still gonna have to make decisions. Right. We're still like those, but at the end of the day, it's so collaborative for me the way I lead.
And you said to me earlier before we started, you said leadership is actually really easy. Maybe we shouldn't say that. But listen, you still need to pay and you still need to get a professional consult. But in theory, it is kind of easy because I was going to ask you, we don't have to name names, but in your previous leadership venture, I felt like the theme there, because I sat through 2 days of shooting with you guys, the theme there was a real deep dive in the self. And obviously that's useful. Yeah. But is there something else with leadership where you do a deep dive in another direction almost to like I say, channel, you know what I mean? Like get out of your own head a little bit and be. Yeah. I like, so it's the starting point, right? You have to know who you are if you're going to lead, like you have to, but that's the starting point. But if you're going to become, and like, I haven't even said this yet, but the word I use is transcendent. So if you're going to become a transcendent leader, you have to learn how to step out of your ego, out of who you are, like out of all these things that kind of keep you locked in a box and start to really expand the lens through which you see the world. Because that's the only way we can truly lead, when we can, when we can see everybody's viewpoint, when we can be open to the experiences of other people, when we can lead with empathy, when we can connect our hearts to other people, then we can really create
incredible experiences.
Transcendent is the right word.
Yeah.
I was trying to think about it. I was thinking about it earlier in some other podcasts where like, well, I'm not going to go there, but there's a French writer who I'm a big fan of his work. And he always says that like to assume that there's like this transcendent meaning to life is wrong actually. And that, so it's up to us to make the values that are our highest values. So does that, to me, if I were to lead, that's what I would do. I would say, listen, the world is insane. There is no right or wrong, truly, but we're going to work together to discern the values that we live by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to make these decisions together, right? And we're going to do our best to come through this together. Now that doesn't always happen, right? It's not always going to be perfect. Life is not perfect.
Right.
But the more you can work to like share that with other people, the more connected the experience becomes, right? It's like I'm so visual, but in my head I just keep thinking it's just like shutting a door, right? And so many people do that. They're like, somebody will walk up to them, very simple example as a leader, and be like, hey, can I? No. Right? Like the immediate answer is no, like that doesn't work for us, or that's not what we do, rather than sitting down and being like, okay, well, why would that person ask that question?
Right. Why would you immediately?
Yeah. What is it about that request?
Right.
Yeah.
And is that because I don't think I've ever had a boss where I didn't feel a certain level of like discomfort around them. And I've seen you at Joe's where you're in that leadership role and you're still, there's that, you take on a bit of sternness or you take on like a frankness, but like there's been times like I'm going to talk to a boss about something. It's just like, and for years it was like, well, the problem's me. I'm an asshole. I'm like this peon stocking the shelves or whatever. But leadership's, it is hard. As much as it is easy, it's also hard. That makes no sense. It's full on. So you might come at this guy and he might be having a bad day or he doesn't even like the job or whatever, but maybe that is the difference, is that for them, they see, well, you tell me, like what's the kind of the pitfall there as a leader to get bogged down in, what is that? The ego takes over, or this guy's a distraction to me right now, or?
Yeah, I think it's doing versus being. So it's getting caught up in like the task, the check, the to-do list.
Interesting.
Versus showing up and truly listening to another human being or figuring out how to connect, or you know what I mean? Like all those things.
Yeah.
So I actually don't call that leading when they're doing, it's managing.
Sure.
We all have to manage too. I have a to-do list that I have to do today. That doesn't go away. What I'm talking about is leading, and that's where we connect. That's where we connect our minds and our hearts, and we share our thoughts and our visions and our dreams for the world, right? And like all of those things, and the to-do list then takes care of itself when you're able to have that connection.
Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that is kind of what we've been saying all along, is like I don't know if you want to call it, if it's the bedrock or if it's the opposite, if it's like the governing, like the transcendent umbrella that tells you what to do.
Yeah.
All the day-to-day stuff will just kind of happen. But also, you have to be physically and mentally in good shape to, like you said, leadership's full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you start, right?
Yeah.
Like, so those self-care routines are so important. Like I have a pretty, like people look at me and they're like, you're kind of crazy, but I have a pretty crazy self-care routine. Like I wake up every single day at 6 a.m. I meditate, I visualize my day, I journal, I have a gratitude practice, and then a lot of times I'll work out. So like the first 2 hours of my day is like, it's me.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people think I'm crazy. They're like, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. And I didn't just start doing that. Like that took years to build into, but it's like, now if I don't do it, it's noticeable. Right? It's noticeable in a day.
Big time. Yeah. Because you're now doing things that are so good for yourself on every level that, you need it to keep. That's also kind of I don't know. Could that be a trap of self-improvement and doing the right things? Is like truly to do the right things is always doing the right things. And it's like doing a little bit of the wrong things is very bad. Like I go for a walk every morning. If I skip that one walk, I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
15-minute walk. It does way more good than 15 minutes worth, you would think.
Yeah. I think we have to practice compassion too with ourselves, right?
Wow.
A little bit of grace.
Yeah.
We are still human.
Yeah,
and,
that is true. That is true.
We're going to get drunk at a baby shower and not get up and go for our walk the next day sometimes. And, that's okay.
You got to do that to me, huh? But you're right.
It's true, right? Like,
I saw a great tweet. It was like this, the classic quote, "Oh, I'm hard on myself," or "I drive myself hard." It's like, no, you're actually mean to yourself.
Yes.
Was the tweet. Which...
Why?
Well, you do. I mean, for me at least, I can fall into a place of being very undisciplined. And if I start to stray, a little bit of self-directed anger is sometimes necessary. But maybe you're a little kinder to yourself than I am.
No, I think you're right. As you're saying that, I'm like, no, I do get angry with myself sometimes too. Yeah, I think I'm just cautious of how much I do that or how long I do that for or right? Because what you say to yourself will manifest in your outward world, right? And if you are a leader, it will manifest with the people that you lead too. And so you have to be kind of cognizant of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing too, more than we understand, we are in control of our reality truly.
Yeah.
Like it is actually all up here.
Yeah.
So, and the way you talk to yourself and the way you see the world is the way you see yourself in a lot of ways.
100%. I totally had like a super crap day this week. And I was like, just like right down in the gutter. Okay. And I was like, I remember I was going to bed and I was like, oh, that was like the worst day. And then I was like reflecting on it. I was like, it was all my thoughts. I was like, what happened today that was so bad? Nothing happened in my external world that was so bad that should have put me in that place. It was my like mental thought process that day. And I just let it like...
You chose to think yourself down into the...
Yeah. And so I remember going to bed and being like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to do that tomorrow.
Right.
And people have accused me of being like this eternal optimist. And I'm always like, no. Like I work at that. Like I have real shitty days. I have days where I wake up and, like lots of people don't even know my story, but like my husband suffered a brain injury. I'm like a caregiver at home. I have lots of things going on that challenge me every single day. And I choose how I show up every day. I work at that. I think about that. Because if I didn't, it could totally go the other way. And then what kind of impact am I creating? What kind of a leader am I being? How am I showing up, right? And it's not like I'm hiding what's wrong. I'm honest about what's wrong. But I'm not going to put this like negative vibe and energy out into the world every day when I can be conscious of it. And some days you're not, right? Like I had that crappy day and it happened. But I was able to recognize at the end of the day and choose again. And I think really connected leaders can do that. And they're honest. Like I went back to the girl I was training and I was like, yeah, I had a really crappy day yesterday. Sorry about that. Like I was like really down. And you can be honest about that with people too. And it doesn't have to be like this, like we're hiding from it kind of thing.
Right.
It's all this experience of life, right?
I would say that we are in a time of real personal honesty and openness, for better and for worse. But you telling your trainee that you had a shitty day, that might even have been unthinkable in some lifetime ago, right? It's sometimes you get people sharing too much, and that's one thing. But that honesty when you can like map on, because we think we have ourselves figured out, I guess, and then you try and relate to another person is like, how much of each other is actually meshing? Whereas like the more honesty, the more you can. Yeah.
And you're also like modeling the way for other people, right? So hopefully at some point she takes that honesty and figures out what that looks like for her and shares that with somebody else, which then inspires, right? And inspires other people to lead in different ways. And I just think it's so beautiful. Like I just don't have a better word for it. I think it's really cool.
It's like passing down tradition over time. Yeah.
But through leadership.
Yeah. I think maybe just as we kind of get toward the end here, I think there's kind of a leadership crisis in the world. Like at least, okay, let's think about the way COVID was, and you don't have to say anything political if you don't want to. I wouldn't force you to do anything, but the point is the way COVID was handled in this province could not have been worse. They fucked up on all sides.
Everything. Yeah.
Right? And I just heard that Joe Biden's approval ratings are like in the getting towards the 30s. Oh. Justin Trudeau was voted in again with 30% of the popular vote, something like that. We're in a time now, we've always been, I guess, where politics is all about concealing information and dividing people in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. that isn't a healthy model of leadership. So I wonder, where does leadership start, I guess? Because I don't think we can look to our so-called superiors for that. Like, does it start in the home, or is it an inborn trait where some people are more inclined to lead? You know what I mean? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you're like, politics. I'm like, I don't even think of politics as leadership.
Yeah, no, that's completely the truth.
So far from it in my mind. I'm like,
it's
it's very, I'm not going to super go there, but.
No, you don't have to. I hope I made the point.
You did, yeah. And it's not leading, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not leading. And so I think the origin story for everybody is different, right? I think if you're lucky, you have a leader in your family who gets it, right? Who understands what it means to be connected and that it's a human experience. If you don't have that, I think if you're passionate about it and it's something you want for yourself, you discover it, right? So that was more my story.
Okay.
I discovered it, and I like my story. I mean, it's my story, so I like it. But
that's good, though.
I also like that I was able to create it how I wanted, right? And I was able to test, and I had this kind of experiment, if you will, for 16 years of testing different leadership models and trying different things, and then pulling together and being like, no, like, this is the Allie Stone way. This is how I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to impact people. And I think that was really cool. So I didn't have any super preconceived notions of what it would look like for me. And so that was a really fun journey. Maybe it took me longer, but that's okay.
All the better, I think. You had more time to do the experiment.
Yeah. And it was an incredible experiment. Incredible. I'll tell you a quick story before we wrap it up. But I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but 15 years ago, a friend of mine approached me and asked me to kind of reinvigorate a 5K run for cystic fibrosis at Original Joe's.
Oh, okay.
I was in my early 20s, starting to figure it out, but not a very good leader.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to really lay it on the table.
Yeah,
a little rough around the edges, and struggling. I'm leading a store. I'm struggling. I'm not doing a very good job.
Okay.
It's my first GM role, and so he asked me to take on this run with him, and I remember thinking, I don't want to donate my time to that. Like, I didn't want to, I was like, I don't, this is, what do you want me to do? You know? And so anyway, so somehow he convinces me to agree to this run. And so as of this August, it was 15 years that I have put on this run. And so it feels to me like in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
I went through 15 years of executing this run for cystic fibrosis. And so what ended up happening was it ended up becoming like the flagship event for Original Joe's. And throughout the course of those 15 years, it's now become, some really cool things like the third overall top non-corporately funded fundraising event for CF in Canada, like crazy things.
Yeah.
But you know what the coolest thing was it taught me how to lead. So it taught me how to show up for a community in a way that I wasn't getting paid for. That I had to hold myself accountable to, and that it was only ever going to be what I chose to create it to be, right? It was only ever going to be as big as I wanted it to be. And there was years where I was like, oh, it's not going to be big, and it wasn't big. And then there was years where I had this vision, and I was like, I'm going to, turn this, and it would be like the most incredible event ever. And we've talked a little bit about this, but it's all about your perception of things and how you choose to engage. And so it's taught me so many lessons over the 15 years. I'm so incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and so we all have these experiences in our lives. But for me, there's all these things, all this money that's been raised and all these, but it's the connection. It's the people. I show up to this event every year. And, we have 15 years. We have people that have come every year now. And I get to see these people and connect with them and hear these stories of, people who live with cystic fibrosis and just different things. And it's just, it's not about the money for me. It's all about the people. Right. And to me, that's a real act of leadership. And I think it's inspired a ton of people to go out and do really cool things in our company. So
wow,
yeah,
that's really cool. like congrats. Like 15 years of that kind of contribution is huge.
It's wild.
It is.
Yeah. It hit me this year. I was like, 15 years?
Do you have a sense of how much money has been over those 15 years?
Yeah,
do you know a total?
Well over $250,000. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
for a grassroots community event, like it's
right. And really interesting what you said was like it is only going to be as good as I make it. Like it's only going to be as big. Like, and you know that's something you got to really take on. Is like this was great because I made it great, or it wasn't as great because I didn't put my full effort and attention into it.
Yeah, and it was obvious those years, and those were the years I was growing, right? And and when I put my full effort into it, people were inspired to come and join. Right? And people were inspired to come and volunteer, and people were inspired to come make it bigger. And
they gravitate, like you had that pull.
Yes. And any leader can do this.
Right.
I guess that's my point. Like this is one of my stories, but anybody could have this story.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not special or unique. I just put my heart into it and cared about it.
Beautiful. So let's say now someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about your services. What's kind of the best route to learn about you?
Well, I have a website. It's theinspiredleader.com. So everything, you can find out a lot of about me on there. You can follow me on Instagram at @AllieStone __ or on Facebook at The Inspired Leader.
Beautiful. Check it out, folks. If you need leadership, I could recommend nobody better. So thanks, Allie, for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the North Bank Media Podcast. If you enjoy this conversation, please subscribe on YouTube and give us a like. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please subscribe as well and leave a 5-star review.